Hey folks, welcome back to Game Garbage, where we take a look at games, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today we're talking about gaming news from September 10th to September 17th, and we got we got definitely a bigger one today. So settle in a little bit. We got definitely some stuff to talk about. Probably the biggest news is going to be on Unity, but we're also going to talk about some stuff with Embracer Group. We're going to talk about what Pete Hines has said from Bethesda about Redfall. Got some news also on RuneScape, Diablo 4, what Google is doing with video games. And it's not the Stadia this time. We're also going to talk about Stalker 2. We're going to talk a little bit more about Starfield. We're going to talk about NBA 2K24, Madden 24, and also Lego 2K Drive. Well, we're going to bundle all that together. So, go ahead and strap in. We definitely got some stuff to chat about. So let's see. So yeah, the biggest news I'll chat about in Unity first, and then the rest of it I'll just chat about as I keep going. So yeah, Unity is going to be the really big one, and this is horrible. And I really feel for a lot of the devs on this because this affects probably thousands of studios, maybe even tens of thousands. I don't know. But we're taking a look at the. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get my phone. Because I also got to read a list, too. This will all be pertinent. So yeah, Unity is changing up some things with how they're affecting devs, and they're going to be charging developers some pennies for every game that is installed. So let's say a developer has 3 games that they've made off of Unity engine. And if you don't know what Unity is a game creation engine, just like Creation through Bethesda or like Unreal Engine 5, which is what a lot of people use today. There's probably some other smaller ones out there too, and there's also probably some independent ones, just like what Creation Engine is. But Unity and Unreal are basically the engines that are used today. And what Unity is doing is they're charging the devs per game that's installed. So again, you know, the example, let's say they make 3 games, and they're all made with Unity, and then they put them out there, and let's say each game gets, you know, 1 million installs. Well, that's per game, so that's 3 million total, and each game is going to be charged anywhere from 10 to 20 cents per install, and that's what the developer has to pay Unity. And this really sucks because developers already pay to be able to use an engine like Unreal or Unity. They already pay to use that, and then this is an additional fee on top of that, where for every install of the game, they have to pay, you know, 10 to 20 cents. And that can really add up when you have hundreds of thousands or millions of copies. And there's a lot to cover on this, so go ahead and hang with me. But yeah, this really adds up. And two, for games that are going to be cheap, like indie games, maybe they're $10 or maybe they're $20 or maybe even $30, and they don't really have any store like microtransaction. This is really going to hurt those type of developers because they don't make as much money per game, and that's just going to cut into their profit margin. We also know, too, there's been a lot of questions about this from developers and from other people that are really worried about this change. But each dev is going to have to pay based off of an estimate that Unity has on how many installs the game should have, which sucks. And all of the data that Unity is going to be pulling from is from their own data sources and their own estimates. So there's really no third-party accountability there, which is horrible. And can we really trust that from them? We don't. Again, it's an estimate. It's not based off of real numbers, at least initially. And yeah, that's going to be a problem. There's also runtime fees that devs are going to have to pay for. Luckily, reinstalls won't be charged. But how will they know if they're reinstalls? Let's say you install the game, you play it, you uninstall it, and let's say 6 or 12 months later, there's some changes that have been made to the game, or like some expansions maybe, or maybe complete overhauls, and now you reinstall the game, how do they know that you are still the original owner? You know, does that even still count as a reinstall, or does that count as a new install? And if it counts as a new one, then the devs got to pay for you installing it a second or third or fourth time, which really sucks. Also, we don't know if how this is going to be affected with bundles. Let's say you buy the game and then later the game gets bundled up, like with Borderlands, right? And so then you technically have the Borderlands collection and you reinstall the game that you technically owned in the first place. You know, is that going to count? Also, we have like upgraded to current gen or like next gen copies. So like from Xbox One to Series X, is that going to change? Or 360 to Xbox One, or 360 to Series X? Is that going to be considered as a new install even though it's the same game? We also have bundles and like repackaging, and another example of this would be like Red Dead Redemption 1 with the Nightmare bundle. That is technically a separate entity from the Game of the Year edition that you can buy, even though technically it's exactly the same game. And so this really starts to become unfair. One thing we do know is that reinstalls across different devices, those will be seen as new installs. So let's say you own the game on Steam and you put it across multiple platforms. Well, for each platform you put that on, that's a new install of that game, and that dev is going to have to pay for that. Even though you already paid for the game once, if you put it across 3 or 4 different platforms or 3 or 4 different PCs, that's going to be counted as other installs that dev is going to have to pay for. And that's further going to eat into their profit margin, which is horrific. So yeah, this whole thing is a good example of doing less for more money. And this has kind of been inbred in our culture, bred in our companies, how they see money and earnings reports and all of that kind of stuff. Is just like, and we've seen this too just through the creation of microtransactions, how season passes turned into battle passes, and some other examples too where they've actually put things now behind a paywall instead of actually releasing the entire game, or even saving other aspects of a game for later with future seasons to it, right? Or future expansions, instead of just having the whole game there and put out. And we even got to see this all the way back with like Battlefield 5, because they didn't launch the entire game. They released it in pieces, with future updates, and even some of that stuff was kind of put behind a paywall, which really sucks. I mean, and we're seeing this too with like Diablo Immortal, which was like a free-to-play model. We got to get into that too. But we've also seen this with like Diablo 4, is that they're not going to change some things, even though they could literally change it right now, because it'll be updated in further seasons of the game. And this is, and now this is just another thing that devs are going to have to deal with. From this idea of like doing the least amount possible for the most amount of money. And honestly, as a culture, folks, even ourselves, when we're at our jobs and when we're at work, we need to really quit with this mentality, because we're overall as a culture, regardless of sector or facet of life, we're paying and spending more money for less quality, or for less content, or less food, or less energy, or less features on a car, or less, I mean, fill in the blank. And even if, you know, you do the least amount for your job just to get by, you're also cheating the company, because you're not worth that money that they're paying you. And then the company also produces less on top of it. And so I know that's not a popular idea, but it's the same principle here. And Unity, again, this is a great business model as long as people keep using Unity. But like, they're literally offering nothing different, nothing for a benefit, and they're just getting more money. This is the same thing with like what PlayStation is doing with their PlayStation Essentials Plus and Premium. Is they're just raising the prices and adding nothing of value to the service. But this is like on a whole nother scale. And if you think that a lot of the devs are going to eat this, you're out of your mind. Like, you don't know really how business works. the businesses can maybe eat a little bit of it, but the majority, especially through the big companies, they're going to pass on this price increase, whatever the estimates are, basically to the consumer. So if, you know, maybe $70 games are going to be pretty short-lived. You know, we really haven't had $70 games for very long. And yeah, that might be more of a permanent thing because of this. Because again, it's all about margins, it's all about running the company, making money, having bigger and better earnings reports than the last one. And yeah, this is just another thing, that's another hurdle that every dev is going to have to deal with. And this is horrible. This is also going to change early access. So early access games are going to be charged, but not demos, because it's not the full game, and also not quality assurance testing. So at least there's that. But we know too that there's a lot of developers that use early access as like free QA testing. They don't have to pay some company, you know, to do a ton of it. They can have some of it done for free by just allowing the game to be in early access. They can take the feedback and then make those changes, and it's free for them. I mean, what they do have to do is they still have to launch the game. They still have to pay to have it on the store, whatever type of storefront it's on, and then they also need to, you know, actually have the servers run if it's a multiplayer game. But basically, it's a cheap Q&A, because you're going to pay for the server space anyway. You're going to be paying to have it on the store anyway, so you might as well release it early, quote unquote, have early access, and let people know for free. You know, they're basically paying you. You know, we're paying the companies to be quality testers. And I mean, Larian Studios did that. We've also had early access with like Grounded, and you know, these are great games, but like that is going to change the business model a little bit for some games. And that was kind of a way too to get out there. Valheim is a perfect example. That's an early access game, and it's also made on Unity. And so however many, you know, even if it's like a early access, free to install, pay later kind of a thing, maybe you'll get a benefit or like a discount when the game releases as a full game. But I mean, that's going to end with this. Because yeah, if you got to pay for every single install, that can be tens of thousands of dollars even for small developers. And it all depends too what type of plan they pay for. There's basically like an Essentials Pro and Premium plan with buying Unity to use the engine to make your game. And the install fee doesn't cost as much the higher you go up on the tier system. For like, if you buy the premium package, it's the cheapest. It's only like 10 cents per install. And there's also a higher ceiling in which those fees start accumulating. And so, I don't know, are people gonna start getting rid of Unity completely, or are they actually gonna pay for the higher version, which is really a trashy, immoral way to do that. But man, we haven't even gotten to the best part yet. So let me keep going here. So yeah, we did talk about the early access. We did talk about that probably some of the games are going to go up in price, or maybe the early access is going to go up in price. It's not going to be 20 or 30 bucks anymore. It might be 40 bucks, which is still cheaper than the actual game. But you know, again, how is that? How is that? Well, it makes me think too of like Atlas. That's a early access game, or like a pre-release game. Is that going to be? Would that be included? I don't know if it's made by Unity or not, or in Unity. But what about that? I mean, that's been in early access forever, several years. You know, and Baldur's Gate 3 would be another example. That was in early access for 3 years. And finally came out, you know, congratulations. And it's done really well, and they took all of the feedback and improved their game, which is wonderful. But man, early access is now going to be charged. And that's really going to hurt a ton of companies. Also, pirated copies are initially going to be charged. So that's going to be another problem. So piracy is a much bigger problem on PC than it is on console. Console is still possible, but it's just a lot easier with the variation and the variety of tools that people have to torrent and pirate and all of that stuff. But yeah, as soon as the game gets installed or whatever, it's going to be seen as an install through Unity, and so the devs are going to have to prove that the copy was pirated, and if they can't, they will be charged. If games too are part of a subscription service, like Game Pass, the devs won't be charged because they're not technically the ones like running the game. You know, they've made a partnership for it to be on a subscription service, but instead the company that has this subscription service will be charged. So like if a game like Valheim is on Game Pass and people download it through Game Pass, Microsoft is the one that gets stuck with the bill. So no matter what, Unity is still going to be paid for those installs. And there's usually been a deal made, like Everspace is a great example, where they can get some developer money through a program that Microsoft has. And, but you know, there's a thing too where it's like the deal gets the game on Game Pass, makes Game Pass look more enticing, you know, the better the games they can get on there. But now if you have an installation fee for every game that gets installed through the subscription service, that's really going to start to be expensive. And that could change things for Microsoft, where they're like, hey, because of this subscription service, or because you're on Unity, or used Unity for your game, we're now going to charge you an additional fee just so you can have your game on Game Pass. Or Microsoft too, or any other company like the Apple Store or somebody else, could just say, we're not going to be allowing you to be on our service because you used Unity. Wouldn't that be interesting? Let's see, what else? So this is probably one of the worst things. This change to Unity is going to be retroactive. So what that means is that every single game from now on that has ever been made with Unity, if it's installed on any console or PC that's basically hooked up to the internet, Unity's going to know. And they're going to charge the dev for that installation. And again, if it's on a different PC, or it's on a different console, or some kind of mobile game device that's independent, then yeah, that's going to be another installation fee. So, and this really sucks because you have all of these devs that made these games, which Unity was pretty big back in the 2000s and 2010s. So there's been a lot of games out there that have been made. And if, you know, this should not be retroactive in my opinion, because you have all of these devs that made these decisions knowing what they knew then, and you're having a retroactive policy that has now changed everything cost-wise, because at the end of the day, it's all about money, folks. And these devs have made decisions that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have made, and now they don't have a choice. And so I really do think we're going to see some legal action from this. If this can be fought legally, especially by some of the big dogs, like Sony, Steam, Epic Games, or like Microsoft, I really think we're going to see some legal action cases be filed later this year. And it should be, because not only is this unethical, nobody was considered for this, right? Nobody agreed to this. This is just a policy that Unity is doing. But this is also immoral. And what that means is that this is a wrong thing. This is a bad thing to do to people. This doesn't just affect people on a social level, right? This affects people on a principle level, on a moral level. And yeah, there's good and evil, there's good and bad, and but this is definitely a moral problem, because this isn't just affecting current games from now on, this is affecting every game that's ever been made with Unity on every single platform out there, and that's horrible. And two, the more platforms you have available, like the Steam Store, PlayStation, and Xbox, well, then that's that many more downloads. And of course, you want to be able to reach as many customers as you can. But maybe now what we're going to see with some devs, including indie games, is just like, well, we're just going to release it on one console. So it'll be an exclusive when it originally wasn't going to be. So that'll be interesting too. And so devs might have to pick and choose kind of how they're going to do it, or small developers are going to want their game to be on a subscription service, because then they don't have to pay the installation fee. The company with the service will. But then again, will those companies be like, hey, pay up a little more, and then you can be on our service? So yeah, this is totally going to change a ton of stuff, folks. And this totally also screws free-to-play games. Because if they rely on just microtransactions, and they can make a lot, Diablo Immortal was a great example of that, but they already have the higher risk, in my opinion, because people already don't pay for the game to play it. They just play the game, and then it's all the microtransactions that support the game itself, which we know a lot of these don't support themselves long term. We've had a lot of failures earlier this year, dating back in February, and also later last year. But yeah, this is going to be a harder sell for free-to-play model. I think ultimately it's going to disappear. It was probably on its way out anyway, but this is horrible. So yeah, so many devs that even work with Unity today or are planning to work with Unity are really angry and frustrated about this. Some have said, hey, we're not going to do this. We're going to back out. We're going to change things in the future. Or some games are totally being yanked, and they're going to be completely redone in a different engine so that they don't have to deal with this. Because if Unity can change this thing, what else can they change in the future and also make it retroactive? And if this is successful, who's to say that someone else isn't going to do the same thing? And if there's anything we've learned in this gaming industry, or just broad worldwide, if we've learned anything about humanity, is that they will learn from other companies. They will learn from other examples. And if Unity is able to make this a success, then the thing that's going to suck is that we're going to see this from other companies. And every single time we think that, oh, microtransactions can't get worse, there's just another example of just how horrible it is. And we're going to get to more examples of some horrible microtransaction bullshit. Just wait. So I want to read you this list. This is not an up-to-date list. This is one of the more up-to-date lists I could find. But I want to read some of the games that are made in Unity. And so you'll probably recognize some of these. Now, this is a long list. I got to pick my way through it. So just be patient if you would. Thank you. So games that are made with Unity. 7 Days to Die. We also got Among Us, Angry Birds, Ape Out, Arma Tactics, Armorillo, BattleBit Remaster, Battlestar Galactica, Battletech, Besiege, Blitzkrieg 3. We got Broforce, we got Call of Duty Mobile, we got Car Mechanic Simulator, number 14 and 15. We got Castle Story, Chaos Reborn. We got City Skylines, Contract Wars, Counterspy, Crawl, Cult of the Lamb, Cuphead. We got Darkwood, Dead Effect, Dead Frontier, Dead Trigger, Death's Door, Deus Ex The Fall, Devotion, Digimon World Next Order. We got Doom, which is the Nintendo Switch port. We also got Dragon Quest VIII. We got Dread Out. We got Dungeon Land and Dungeons 2 and 3. We also have Dusk. There's also Endless Legend, Endless Space. We got Escape from Tarkov. We got Everything. Exogenesis, Perils of Rebirth. We got Fall Guys, Fallout Shelter, Far, Lone Sails. We have Fee, which that game literally just came out. Final Fantasy IX, the enhanced ports. We got Firefly Online. We got Firewatch, which that's a good game, by the way. We have Fractal, Freedom Planet 2. We have Genshin Impact. We have Ghost of a Tale, Golf Story. We got Gunfire Reborn, Guns and Robots. We got Hand of Fate, Hearthstone. We got Hero of Many, Hitman Go, Hollow Knight, House Flipper, Human Fall Flat, I Am Bread, which I guess that was a pretty good one. Ingress Prime, Inside, Interstellar Marines. We got Jotun, Just Shapes and Beasts, Kentucky Route Zero, Kerbal Space Program. No way! Dude, that's frustrating. Lara Croft Go, Layers of Fear, Legend of Dungeon, Lifeless Planet, Lost Sphere, Mario Kart Tour, Marvel Future Fight, Marvel Snap, Marvel Strike Force, Max Curse of the Brotherhood, Mega Dead Pixel. We got Mini Metro, Mobile Legends, Mobius Final Fantasy, Monkey Quest. We have NASCAR Heat 2 and 3 and Evolution. We have Necropolis, Never Alone, Night in the Woods. We have Oddworld Soulstorm. We have Ori the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. We have Osiris New Dawn, Outer Worlds, Overcooked, Overload, Oxenfree. We have Pathfinder Online and Kingmaker, PC Builder Simulator, Phoenix Point. We have Pillars of Eternity, Plague Inc., Pokemon Go. Wow. We got Project Phoenix, Prime World. We have Real Mist Masterpiece Edition, Frick, Rick Room, Recore. We have Rick and Morty, Virtual Reality, RimWorld, Risk of Rain 2, RoboCraft, Roller Coaster Tycoon, Shadow Blade, Shogun Legends, Shogun Returns Hong Kong, Shadowverse. We have Shelter, Slender the Arrival, Sonic Dash, Sonic Forces, Speed Battle, Sonic Runners, SpongeBob Hero Pants, Strafe, Stranded Deep, Streets of Rogue, Subnautica. Mother frick! Are you kidding me? I love that game. Sudden Strike 4, Super Hot, Surgeon Simulator, Syndrome, Tacoma, Temple Run 1 and 2. We got the Elder Scrolls Legends. We have The Forest. We also have The Long Dark, The Novelist, The Room 1 and 2, The Silver Case, the remake. Thomas Was Alone, Three Kingdoms Online, Tiger Woods PGA Tour 12, also Tour Online. We got Trail Mix, Tunic, Uber Strike, V Rising, Valheim, which is a game I mentioned earlier, Verdun, which is a World War I simulator, Victory at Sea, War of the Overworld, War Robots, Wasteland 2. Yeah. It's crazy. And this is not a complete list either. There's still more games out there that are made with Unity. But, like, you probably recognize some of those. Of course, I didn't read them all. I skipped over most. But there's a lot of games. And this affects them all. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is going to affect the landscape of gaming. And I really hope Unity just sealed their fate, because they totally do not deserve to be a part of the gaming space. Because making a policy like that and making it retroactive is just scammy. There's no way that should happen. There's a lot of devs too that are like, look, we had future projects in the mix, but now we're not going to do this. And this policy too, if it continues to go through, which I think is going to go through in 2024, maybe even a little earlier than that. I don't remember the date. I was so frustrated. But this will probably bankrupt some companies too. Because, yeah, as the game becomes cheaper, they have more and more cut into their profit margin. And they still have to deal with marketing. They still have to deal with getting their game on a store in the first place, which takes money. They still gotta pay their employees. They still gotta pay benefits. I mean, this is just going to be another thing that's going to cost them some serious bucks. And this will kill free-to-play model. I have no doubt in my mind. Because with the recession, people already don't have a lot of money. They're not going to pay, $5 or $10 to buy something in their video game that's free to play. They'd rather just do the free to play and just go through the grind. And yeah. And this is really going to kill mobile games too, because most people really only play mobile games for maybe a few days or maybe a couple of weeks, and then they take it off their phone. They really don't play them for very long. And we can all agree that most mobile games really aren't for quality. It's just for quantity. And we've even heard that from certain developer studios that have made mobile games for years, and they're like, yeah, it's all about just making another game, getting it out there, letting it run its course for months or a couple of years, and then making something else. And they know exactly what they're doing, and when that's their business model, to not really keep people playing their game, not have the longevity of their game keep going, that is just going to kill it. And I think of like Arcane Studios too. If that was a Unity game, and so many people had it on day one and tried it, and now the game doesn't make any extra money at all, oh my goodness. Could you imagine a free-to-play model like that? That would be horrific. Yeah. Or even when you get a new console, that's a new install. So yeah, this is really crummy. If you want to look more into this, you can watch Yang Ya's video on his channel. It's about 42 minutes, and he goes pretty into depth with it and talking about different scenarios and what ifs and how there's so much around this whole change to everything with Unity that we don't really know what's going to go on. It's definitely going to change the gaming space one way or another. But if I was a company and I was making a game, or it was in the process, I would no longer use Unity, and if we could financially do it, I would just kill the game. I'd just be like, yep, this game's done. I am no longer doing that. I would have the game remade in a different engine, and basically do like a remaster version and make it in a different engine and just cut out Unity completely. And if my company ultimately had to fail, I would let it run as long as it could, but no more future projects would be made in Unity. There's no freaking way. I would give them the middle finger and I would be done, because I would rather have my company go nuclear than support a business model like that, because that hurts everybody. It hurts Unity down the line, it hurts us as a company, and it hurts all of the employees too, because it cuts into that profit margin. And so ultimately, I have an extra tax that I just have to pay just cause. And man, I hope Unity eats some serious dick, because that is so garbage. So, on with the rest of gaming news. Yeah, I still can't even believe it, folks. It's flipping horrible. Okay. So also, Google has now added a new tab. It's called Playables. And this is going to be the branch for them to be able to have mini games or mobile games that they're going to be able to have in Google Chrome, which is where their web browser, and also on YouTube. So this is being tested right now as an experiment, and depending on how it goes, it'll eventually be rolled out for everybody. So if you do have that, leave a comment down below. I mean, what do you think about it? What do you think? Is it something you enjoy? What kind of games are on there? Do you think what are your thoughts on the whole thing? Go ahead and let us know if you've encountered that. Something too is you'll also be able to have save files on YouTube history, which that's interesting. And does that work too for Google Chrome? I don't know. That wasn't necessarily mentioned. On to Diablo 4. So we know that Diablo is not only getting a season pass, but now we're also getting a yearly expansion every year. And this looks very much just like the Destiny model, where we got, 2 or 3 season passes kind of, and then we finally had like the big drop of a big DLC or big expansion kind of in the latter third of the year. And I think it's funny that Diablo 4 is doing this, when Destiny 2 just quit that. So what we've seen for the next 2 years for Destiny 2 is that there's just going to be 3 DLCs. They're going to be a little bigger than what they normally were for their quarter, but probably not that much bigger. And then that big drop of DLC toward the end of the year, that's not coming anymore. And 2, we only have a roadmap for 2 years, so into 25. And by then, I think Destiny is officially going to be done. I think Bungie's going to move to Marathon, and I think that's a Sony decision. But 2, we know too, when Bungie got rid of Halo and started Destiny, we know that Destiny was like a 10-year model. Well, we're at 10 years now. And so, yeah, maybe they're just following through with that. I don't know. But with what we've seen from Sony already, like with Gran Turismo, I can't see Marathon being a game I'm willing to play, actually, for myself. I would play it for the channel, just to piss on it, or actually see if it's really that good, but I can't really see it doing too much. So we know, too, with Diablo 4 that certain things have been said they can't change that, like more tabs for your inventory, right? Even though they did that in Diablo 3. And so we know that this kind of business model, we even got to see this in Overwatch 2 as well as Destiny, is that future things were eventually added, but also things were ultimately withheld for future content. And I really kind of hate that model. Again, it's kind of like, buy the game, $70, super fancy access for $100, and then we'll release stuff kind of when we want to, and give you bits and pieces and keep you enticed or engaged with the game just enough, instead of actually creating a wonderful, full-blown experience like Baldur's Gate 3. And that really frustrates me that Diablo 4 is probably going to go this way, go the Destiny 2 route, because it's already super monetized. The game is already super frustrating for a lot of players, and they're going to spend the rest of this year trying to fix things as they release more season passes, and it's just microtransaction hell. I mean, for those of you that enjoy Diablo 4, wonderful, enjoy it for as long as you can, but honestly, I think this is going to be a game that's just going to destroy itself and implode. In Overwatch 2, it's already done. People just don't care, and it's horrible. Next in news, we see that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is becoming a game. So this was a movie that was released not too long ago, earlier this year, and we know that it's going to become a game for 2024. The reason this is news is because it's going to be made by Outright Games. And they were the ones that did Peppa Pig and DC League of Super Pets Adventures of Crypto. Which, man, if you don't know what that game is, just look up some stuff on YouTube real quick. And it is a horrible game. Basically, the game takes you through, quote, a mission, and you just fly kind of guidedly in between some buildings and stuff, and then you move Crypto around the screen as if he's a cursor, and you shoot stuff. And that's basically it. I mean, we had those games like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and holy smokes, man, that's horrible. I'm not going to play it for you folks because it's not worth the money. So yeah, this Ninja Turtles, done by Outright Games, I am not excited for that. The game's probably going to be junk. But hey, we should wait and see. Give them a fair shot at least, right? Just like freaking Skull and Bones, folks. Let's give that one a fair shot. I can't wait to have that on my channel. I'm serious. Next, we see RuneScape. So this has been a game that has been around for quite some time. But the community revolted so much to some of their changes and some of their pay-to-win features that the developers of RuneScape is removing those features from the game, from their Battle Pass, and from their store. And that's wonderful news because the revolt took place on Reddit. People were basically uninstalling and canceling their subscriptions. We've had YouTubers and other influencers that have been talking about the game and just letting people know about it so that other people don't have to pay for it. And yeah, there's been such an uproar that, RuneScape's going to change for what the players want. It's still not going to get rid of the Battle Pass, but they're going to get rid of the play-to-win features. And that truly is a win for the gaming community because if we are loud enough, folks, if we band together in unison, we can really stick it to a company. And I think that's what's been happening with Ubisoft, which is why they've been making some pretty big changes this year, and why their business model is now just Assassin's Creed games for the most part. But yeah, we do have a voice. And if enough of us band together to boycott or to change something, if we basically withhold money, and I've chatted about this before, if we withhold money from these companies, they have to change. Because ultimately, if money's not coming in, they have to do what we want. Otherwise, they're done. And I really hope some of the bigger companies fail, because I think it needs to happen ultimately. We need kind of a reset in our gaming space. So that's wonderful news for RuneScape. Hopefully more communities can learn from RuneScape and actually do the same thing. I would love to have Call of Duty back. I would love to have Battlefield back. I would love to have, Diablo to be what it used to be. Overwatch 2 is another example, because these IPs, they're totally imploding on themselves. And I was even talking with Lion and a few others. It's like there's some other franchises that haven't seen a game in a really long time, and I'm ultimately happy about that, because they would make it microtransaction garbage. And I hate that. I want games to be games again. And for as many things can be frustrating or annoying in Starfield, I know I bought the whole game. And the game isn't buggy like Anthem. The game isn't partitioned out like Battlefield 5. The game has more guns than Battlefield 2042 did starting out. I mean, the game's fun. And the game isn't empty like Redfall. If you don't like it, that's okay. Get your money back. But I just don't think people have the patience to play a game like Starfield anymore. And I think that's kind of a bummer. Personally, I really enjoy it. And I'll ultimately do my review probably next month sometime when I've put at least 50 hours in. But yeah, I'll get to that when I get there. Let's see, something else too is Stalker 2 is delayed again. So this is a game I've been waiting to come out for quite some time. This is going to be a first-person shooter. The trailers looked really fun, but this is the developer and publisher is in Ukraine, and the war has really messed stuff up over there, which we don't even hear about in the news anymore, right? But we keep sending them money. The war's over, folks. Putin's won. It's just not being talked about anymore, because there is no good news coming out of Ukraine. We're just blowing tens of billions of dollars just to get other people killed. It's disgusting. So yeah, it's been delayed again. The studio unfortunately had a fire, and it gutted a third of the studio. And so they've lost some stuff. They got to rebuild, but they're dedicated on putting out the game. This is a passion project for them. And so they're hoping they can put it out here in 2024. But they're still learning kind of the extent of the damage and how much has to be redone, but they are committed. So I'm excited about that. We have heard from Bethesda, the Bethesda publisher. The head, Pete Hines, has said that Redfall will be a good game someday. And says that Arcane isn't giving up. That they're still going to work on improving the game and making DLC for it, I guess. But, really have the devs given up? I probably would. I mean, I'm just doing my job great, but it wouldn't be a passion project for me anymore. It wouldn't be a passion project the day we launched it. I'd feel sick. I'd feel sick in the state that Redfall was in. We know it had a big update. Lion and I played it. You can check it out on Off the Cuff if you want on our playlist. But yeah, it's bad. There's still plenty of bugs. There's still not a lot of enemies. The enemies are too easy to kill. And I was worried about that when I was first seeing the gameplay trailer. And it's like, the combat doesn't look good, unfortunately. And I would even say the combat in Starfield is a lot more enticing than Redfall. And yeah, Redfall is really, really bad. But yeah, Peter says that Peter Hines says that the game will be a game people will still want to play on Game Pass, and even it will still be relevant 10 years from now. And I can't believe that. There's no way. I mean, and we're getting to a point, too, where there's so many games now coming out, we can't play them all. But, you know, when your game absolutely bombs, like Gollum or Forspoken or Redfall, you gotta just give it up. Okay, just work on something else that's actually going to make you money. If your ship is sinking and the cargo hold is already half full, it's over. There's no way you're saving it. And with a sinking ship, just get off the freaking thing. Put your money and energy and resources towards something else and just try again with a new project. But hey, they're going to try to keep it going. And I feel bad for Arcane in Austin because that's just wasted. Nobody's going to want to play the game. No one's going to want to go back. There's plenty of other stuff to play. So yeah, that's really a bummer. I don't know how much of that is Bethesda's decision making or Microsoft. I don't know. But somebody up top is like, no, you're going to make this a good game. And yeah, bad decision in my opinion. We also heard that Embracer Group is restructuring. So they've been shifting some stuff around. And we learned that they're kind of maybe putting an ear out there to sell Gearbox. Now, Gearbox has several IPs, but the big one that they're known for is Borderlands. And, you know, I hope Microsoft buys it. They already got plenty of their games on Xbox Game Pass. And it would be great to, do that. Embracer Group has also made Pandora's Box, which is all games, all DLCs, and even for $150, that's a pretty good deal. But even right now, there's deals for a lot of the Borderlands games, so you should check it out on your store and see if there's any that you want there. You should check out the DLCs too, because I think the DLCs are on sale as well right now. Let's see. Starfield has surpassed over 6 million players. So Bethesda is definitely making some money. Bethesda said in their first week they've had over 6 million, and that this is the best launch of a game they've ever had. It outpaces Skyrim, and it also outpaces Fallout 4. So, good job for them. In an interview, Todd Howard said that it's not likely that he's going to put in, like, moon buggies or rovers to make traversing planets faster. Which that is kind of frustrating. You just kind of run and run and run. And I do feel like that's an old mechanic. And I mentioned it too, I think in my previous, which should have been, instead of gaming news, it should have been Starfield news. But I do feel like it's kind of monotonous. And it's just, I got to run over there. And I even find myself sometimes, it's like, you know, that's 700 meters away. The planet is not hospitable to me. I don't have the resources. I'm already getting fat, you know, I'm getting over encumbered or pretty close to it. I'll see if I want to explore it next time. So I'm already getting to a point where there's some areas where the game does not make it easy enough for me to make it worth adventuring and trying to, like, completely survey a whole planet or completely find every single location. At least with, like, Fallout or Skyrim or Oblivion or whatever, is that you had stuff to look at, right? You had things you could kind of interact with, you could see things, it was kind of changing environments or even changing biomes. With a big planet, you don't really have that. We know it's procedurally generated, where all the tiles are kind of linked together, and so, yeah, once you've seen it, you've kind of seen it. And the only thing that's interesting is, hey, what is that over there? Maybe that's an abandoned place, maybe that's a cave, maybe that's something else. And two, I feel like they really kind of cut back on their caves. So the caves are maybe 1/10, 1/5 of what they used to be. Even the small caves, I feel like in Skyrim and Oblivion, or even Fallout 4, I feel like the caves in those games were actually bigger than what we currently have in Starfield. And so that's kind of a bummer for me. I liked the caves in those other games, and in Starfield, the caves are just kind of wah. There are some cool stuff in there. It is an easy place to mine for certain minerals if you're looking for them. But so far, there's nothing in the cave. It's very small. I don't know. I'm kind of bummed by that. So Todd Howard's answer was that to traverse the planets, we have jetpacks and we also have low gravity. Well, not all of them are low gravity, but he was kind of saying like they help you traverse. They kind of help make it interesting and fun. But again, when you've already got 30 plus hours or 20 plus hours, it's just kind of like, look, I just want to get there. And we know in the other games, like once you've unlocked a location, you can fast travel, which that's nice. You don't have to rerun the whole thing again. But still, I feel like we should be able to hop in our ship and hover over or kind of fly over the land and land where we'd like to go, or have a buggy or a dune, something. I mean, even if we just put wheels on Vasco, like if that was a skill or something, or some type of an expensive upgrade, putting wheels on Vasco with some kind of a jump seat, that would be great. It's like, go robot, go, and you could just drive there. That would be wonderful. But yeah, doesn't look like they're gonna do it. Todd Howard, made mentions of the jetpack and the low gravity, but when asked about, buggies in the future, Todd just kind of danced around the question. So this either tells me that Todd is keeping buggies for now a secret for future content. Who knows? Also, if Todd doesn't do it, I can guarantee you the modders will. And we know we're going to get official modding tools, including for console, probably sometime next year. But I wonder too if those mods will be monetized in the future. I mean, what do we think? We also know too that people have been finding out how, quote, smart the AI is, which it's not AI, it's really just a program. I wish people could get that right. But, players have been able to trick AI with ship battles by making their ship out of a whole bunch of corners, because the idea is to hit center mass. That's what they're programmed to do, so that's what they aim for, and they can't hit anything, because the whole ship is made out of corners. So yeah, I'm really hoping these mod tools are coming next year, that modders will be able to go crazy and be able to make and build a bunch of stuff in Starfield, and that we can just have a good time in the game. And again, whatever is not designed by Bethesda is going to be modded in. So the game is very fun. Most of the community really enjoys it. But yeah, I can't really see big things like not having a buggy or a rover not being implemented by either officially by Bethesda or get modded in by the modders. Somebody's going to do it. So it's just a waiting game, folks. The things that you're frustrated about, one way or another, they're going to get fixed. And that's one thing that I truly enjoy about Bethesda is they want their modders to come in. They want modders to come in and do things and make things and design things. And again, there's 900 planets out there that people can do things with. And that's a lot of free space for modders. You know what I mean? That's crazy. So I'm hoping within the next year, or within the next several years, we're really going to start seeing like huge, massive mods for certain planets or certain areas out in space, or maybe even new space stations or new factions. We don't know. Yeah, Starfield is going to get really dang big, depending on how many mods you want to download. In other news, man, this is really sad. But we found out that after Dying Light 2 was purchased by Tencent, Tencent has added a premium currency to the game and expanded the store. And so, as a woohoo, congratulations, if you were already a member or whatever, you get 500 currency, but you must redeem it by October 7th for Dying Light. And who even plays Dying Light 2? Honestly, I don't know. I don't really feel like the currency is really for kind of casual players. It's for people that are hardcore into Dying Light 2 and like the environment and stuff. Myself, I haven't even played it yet, just haven't gotten to it. I think I do have a really cheap copy that I got for like $10 or less. The thing that sucks, and we've seen this in Diablo 4 as well, is 500 is not enough to buy anything in the store. Isn't that nice? You need at least 550. So you gotta spend more money to actually buy anything. And instead of just actually giving you something as a gift, they're like, hey, here's another way to entice you to spend money. I mean, I'm so tired of that move. I'm ready just for developers to actually make business decisions that focus on the gamers. But us as gamers, we have to be willing to withhold buying the game. And so now that Techland is owned by Tencent, I have kind of lost respect for Techland, because Techland isn't making the decisions. The Chinese company Tencent is. And if we know anything about Tencent, they're all about these microtransactions. We've seen it over and over and over again. And so, yeah. What we knew was Techland, it's over. It's not the same company anymore. Ooh boy, for all of you that are single out there, Megan Fox is coming to Mortal Kombat 1. Can you believe it? She's going to be playing Natara. And we also have Van Damme as Johnny Cage. Now, Van Damme is like a 1980s action hero. He was actually a pretty big, or I guess maybe that was the 90s, but also kind of like a big focus of Mortal Kombat and kind of it getting off the ground. And so it's cool to see Van Damme actually getting into the space. He wasn't able to do it way back when, so 30 years later he's finally able to do it. And so they actually got him in Mortal Kombat 1, which is cool. And you can actually play him as a real character. He's not just one of those like cameo characters. He's actually going to be a real character in the game that you can play. And that's pretty cool. Next is going to be NBA 2K24. Well, they have beaten Overwatch 2 on Steam with the worst score in history. So Overwatch 2 had 9%, and NBA 2K24 has 8%. Can you believe it? It's just like whenever we get a game this year that's really bad, it's almost like, okay, it can't get worse than that. And then it gets worse. And so the overall gameplay, playing the matches, playing basketball, it's fine, right? There's really nothing amazing about it compared to previous years. Again, it's just like Madden or like the NFL is it's just regurgitated game from the previous year. Maybe a few tweaks here and there, but basically things that could be updated with an update patch instead of just a whole new game. But, you know, hey, they're trying to make as much money as they can. So yeah, the game itself is fine, but it's the microtransactions. So we already had things in career. We already had where you could buy clothes and bikes and Gatorade and all of this other stuff for your character or for your team. And now they've added a season pass. Isn't that great? So every so often there's a new season pass. You got to pay $10 for it on top of it, as if you didn't already spend enough money. We also learned too that the PC version isn't next gen, just the console version. So of course the PC gamers are super frustrated about that. They feel like they wasted their money. And then yeah, again, the game is basically the same as 2K23. And it's the same thing Madden does. Just keep putting out the same game. You know, hey, we're gonna change the name, but no, it's the same thing. It's got more bugs, or maybe the same amount of bugs. Things are kind of downgraded compared to last time, and we kind of see this overall in big IPs, folks, big franchises. Is because of the microtransaction space. Again, they withhold things. They shove more things in your face to get you to buy things when you already paid for the game. And honestly, when it was a free-to-play model, it was okay. World Tanks, War Thunder, right, Enlisted, those are free-to-play games. But when you have to pay $70 minimum now, on top of all of these other microtransactions, and even sometimes too, which there's a pay-to-win style in this game. There's a pay-to-win feature in NBA 2K24, which is horrible. It's just like, what's the point of paying for the game? I gotta shell out a minimum of $70 just to turn the game on, and then I got all of this other stuff to try to entice me, which all of it's worthless, folks. It's just cosmetics. And now they're realizing that cosmetics aren't enough, so then they're adding some things in there where it's like, well, this gives you a boost, or you can get an extra skill, or you can, have some kind of aspect of your character be a little better, or get some kind of experience boost. I mean, it's all of these kind of things, and so now it becomes this pay-to-win scenario on top of already paying to play. So you pay to play, and then you pay to win after that. And honestly, where does it stop, folks? I mean, at what point do we say no to this stuff and just not buy these games? And it's not like we don't know these games are going to be this way. Modern Warfare 3, they're going to make billions of flipping dollars playing another Modern Warfare 2 game, which really the game is just focused on keeping Warzone alive. And then the pay-to-win scenario is going to be Black Cell and the Blueprints. And I mean, this is just disgusting. This is just disgusting. So for the score of NBA 2K24 is a 2.0 out of 5.0 on the Xbox store. It's actually doing worse than Madden 24 is, if you can believe that. Also, the prices for the game for different versions is gross. And they're even using Kobe Bryant, you know, one of the legends of basketball. It'd be like using Michael Jordan back in the 2000s to basically sell the game. Which this isn't even a game, folks. This is a service. And again, I wish companies would make games again instead of making a service. I want to play. I don't want to buy. You know, I don't want to continue to go shopping. I just want to play the game. And then, yeah, we have 70 for a minimum. And then it goes up to like 80, 90, I think. The Black Mamba edition is $100. And then if you get the super fancy COVID whatever edition, stamped by Fauci, it's $150. Like, that's insane. Like, you can buy Borderlands Pandora's Box for all Borderlands games and all DLC for $150. That's 5 games with all DLC for $150. Or you can buy the super fancy COVID Fauci edition for $150 for a pay-to-win service game. I mean, what are you people doing? What are you people doing buying this stuff? Madden right now, its score is sitting at a 2.6 out of 5.0. So it's a little better than half. But let's be serious, folks, for a minute. So many games can no longer get past 3.0. It's impossible. And it's because the live service aspect drags them down. And even though Elden Ring wasn't for everybody, even though a lot of people are kind of peeing on Starfield, which I think that's being review bombed personally. We got some other games too that also aren't perfect, but the best games have been unmonetized. They have made a game, made an experience, an immersive experience for people, including Starfield, and that's the game. There is no store. There is no monetization. Maybe that'll change for Starfield. We know Fallout 76 had a store. But we don't see that in Starfield right now. It is possible that comes in the future. We'll have to see. But for right now, Starfield has a 3.9 out of 5.0. But you look at the stuff for NBA and Madden and NFL and NHL and even Lego 2K Drive. Again, it's just microtransaction to death stuff. Buggy, crashy, shitty stuff. And why are you guys paying for this? Why? We could have so much better games if we're willing to withhold for 3 years. If 10%, 15% of the Call of Duty folks quit paying for Call of Duty, Activision would have to change some stuff. The fact that Blizzard can't make a game that people want, like Diablo and Overwatch 2, they're gonna lose some money. It may not be immediate. You know, Diablo Immortal made $500 million in less than 3 quarters. But folks, if we are willing to apply the pressure, it's going to turn into pain. And just like RuneScape, they're going to have to change stuff. Because it's ultimately about money flow. And when you shut off the money, they have to change stuff in order to stay alive. Again, the bottom line is money. So start voting with your money. Please. Because this type of stuff that they're doing It's just stupid. Nobody should care that Megan Fox, right, is going into a game. Nobody should care that they're using Kobe Bryant to get you to sell copies. Nobody should care who's on the face of Madden. Everybody should be pissed off that basically the game doesn't start for Diablo 4 until you beat the game the first time. I mean, this is ridiculous, folks. Or the fact that the game basically starts over after every season of Diablo 4 and you gotta start the grind all over. That's horrible. Why are we buying this shit? Really. It's dumb. Play the old stuff. More and more, as the years go on, I see more people playing older games. They don't want to play the new ones. The game that I've seen the most with people playing is Starfield. I don't see Overwatch. I don't see Diablo. I don't see anything. I still see Modern Warfare 2. You know, that was last November, and I'll probably see Modern Warfare 3 fill up my list. But I see more people playing the old Black Ops games. Infinite Warfare. World at War. Those are the games that people are playing. I still see World of Tanks. I still see War Thunder. I still see some of this really old stuff, like the old Star Wars Battlefronts, even the new Star Wars Battlefronts. But yeah, why are we paying for this stuff? And really, folks, it's up to you on what the gaming industry is going to be. I mean, you can work on starting today, and if you're willing to be endurant enough, more people are going to figure it out. More people are going to show up. If you're already contributing to financially hurting these companies like myself, thank you. Because this is not what gaming used to be. I mean, I grew up with the NES in the 80s. I grew up when they first added 3D graphics with the N64 and PlayStation 1. I grew up when they first added DLC. And now microtransactions. And live service. And it's just totally changed things. And it's way worse. But boy, if they can entice you with some fancy colors and having a closet full of cosmetics and fancy stuff you're basically never going to use, man, pick and choose what you're going to spend your money on. Okay? People still have that issue in Starfield, right? They complain that there's not enough storage capacity, and that's because they pick up everything. They don't know how to prioritize. And folks, you should ask yourself, can you prioritize what's the best bang for your buck? Devs are going to be doing that to see if they're going to stick with Unity or not. Why can't you do that? Why don't you have the skills to do that? Why do you keep paying for this stuff? You know the real question? What's going to happen when they make everything ultimately pay to win? Are you going to seriously continue to keep paying so you can be at the top? Does it really matter that much? I was just talking with Shepard tonight. We played some multiplayer on Black Ops 3. I got my butt handed. But you know, it was fun enough. It was good to catch up. But you know, we were chatting about how just the microtransaction history of how it started to where it is today. And just what gaming used to be about, playing with your buddies, working as a team, being a unit, and clearing the map. And it's not that way anymore. It's more about now competition even with your own teammates to get the most kills, to be the fastest to kill, to have the most powerful stuff, to have the best animations and emotes and gold guns in your collection. Again, that stuff doesn't matter, folks. All you have at the end of the day is a whole bunch of stuff. And you're friendless. Nobody cares. People only care what they have. And then it just promotes arrogance. And then you don't know how to do anything because you grind for your gold gun all day. I mean, I got a buddy. He's about 10 years younger than me, and he just spent like 15 hours on his car fixing stuff, motor mounts, you know, a turbo or whatever. Maybe it was naturally aspirated. He also changed out like spark plugs, took his whole radiator out, started taking apart some of the frame to replace parts, and then putting it all back together. I mean, that's incredible, folks. He's 24 years old, and he can basically take his car apart and put it back together. I mean, what do you guys know how to do? What can you do? Can you do anything? And really, do you really feel that great being at the top of the scoreboard with your gold gun and fancy emote? Man, if that's all your life is, I feel bad for you. Because as you age, you'll realize it's really not worth anything. And I'm hoping you figure that out before it's too late. So anyway, folks, hopefully you guys are doing good. Hang in there with Lee. Man, some people got squished pretty good with Lee along the New England coast. We also had that crazy storm, Daniel, totally destroy parts of Lebanon over in North Africa. We had that insane earthquake in Morocco, which killed over 2,000 people. We had the fires in Hawaii. Good grief. Makes me think, too, what else has happened that doesn't even really make the news. So yeah, just be aware of what's going on out there, folks. Hurricane season isn't over yet. We're going to have crazy blizzard storms, my guess, in kind of like the northern part of the United States. And wherever you live, just be aware of what's going on. Have a plan. Prepare for things to go wrong. And the better you prepare, the better off you're going to be, ultimately. So yeah, just be aware, folks. Be safe out there. And I'll see you on the next one.